Democracy is not an issue. Except the polling data showed 60% of the people knew I was right, thought I was right. I'm not asking you a question. You don't have to answer, obviously. But do you think our democracy is under siege based on this court? Do you think democracy is under siege based on Project 2025? Do you think he means what he says when he says he's going to do away with the civil service, eliminate the Department of Education, make sure, I mean, we've never been here before. And that's the other reason why I didn't, you say, hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake.
We've had some discussions over the past few days with your press secretary about the question of health exams. And you said you take a cognitive test every day in this job. Are you open to taking another physical or test before the election? Governor Whitmer of Michigan, for instance, said it wouldn't hurt to take a test.
Well, look, two things. One, I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist. In each case, as recently as February. And they say I'm in good shape, okay? Although I do have a little problem with my left foot because it's not as sensitive because I broke my foot and didn't wear the boot. But I'm good. I'm tested every single day about my neurological capacity to do decisions I make every day. You talk to my staff, all of you talk to my staff. Sometimes my staff talks a lot. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think you have them telling you that all the major ideas we've undertaken haven't been in part initiated by me. I remember when the staff and I said, I'm going to go to South Korea. We're going to get the chip. What are you doing? I'm going to get Japan and Korea back together again after essentially having hostilities toward one another since the end of World War II. I'm going to move and see that we can expand it. You know, the only thing age does is help you with it. Creates a little bit of wisdom if you pay attention. And so the point I'm making is, I think it's important that if the neurologist tells me he thinks I need another exam, and by the way, I've laid every bit of the record out. Hadn't hidden a thing. You ought to ask Trump for his, okay? I laid it all out. And every single day, I'm surrounded by good docs. If they think there's a problem, I promise you, or even if they don't think it's a problem, they think I should have a neurological exam again, I'll do it. But no one's suggesting that to me now. And I'll ask you another question. No matter what I did, no one's going to be satisfied. Did you have 7 docs? Did you have 2? Who'd you have? Did you do this? How many times did you? So I am not opposed if my doctors tell me I should have another neurological exam, I'll do it. But that's where I am. Haley Bull, Scripps.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said you're making decisions on a day-to-day basis when it comes to support for Ukraine. Does that mean you have not closed the door on further considering lifting restrictions for U.S.-made weapons inside Russia? And if I may, your convention is coming up where your delegates are pledged to make you the official nominee. If they have second thoughts, are they free to vote their conscience?
Obviously, they're free to do whatever they want, but I get overwhelming support. Overwhelming support. I won, I forget how many votes I won in the primary. Overwhelming. And so tomorrow, if all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says, we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
Even if that means they vote for someone else?
Sure. Look, I'll end this with this. I served in the Senate a long time. I understand the impetus of candidates running for local office and whether they think the top if they can help them or not. In my state of Delaware, which was a very, at least a purple, it was a red state when I started, in terms of where you now talk red and blue. I don't recall most of the Democratic presidents winning my state when I was a candidate. The truth of the matter is I understand the self-interest of a candidate. If they think that, running with Biden at the top is going to hurt them, then they're going to run away. I get it. But so far, go and look at the polling data in their states. Look at the in-depth, and by the way, I think you'd all acknowledge, and you're all experts. I'm not being solicitous about the president. You're experts on this stuff. How accurate does anybody think the polls are these days? I can give you a series of polls where you have likely voters, me versus Trump, where I win all the time. When the unlikely voters vote, he wins sometimes. The bottom line is all the polling data true because the campaign really hasn't even started. I mean, it hadn't started in earnest yet. Most of the time, it doesn't start till after September, after Labor Day. So a lot can happen. But I think I'm the best I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too. But it's awful start from scratch. And, we talk about, money raised. We're not doing bad. We got about $220 million in the bank. We're doing well. So with that, you have want to follow up on any of that you just asked me?
Yes. You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
Mr. President,
Okay. Thanks.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody. This concludes.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
One more extraordinary moment in this presidential campaign, and then we say this often, and we can't overstate it, that every day in the spotlight is another critical test for President Biden in this election, having given the debate performance that he did that was so highly criticized afterwards, the moments during that debate. Obviously, a lot of criticism for the former President Donald Trump in that debate as well, but it's the president who must now make the case before the American people and in front of fellow Democrats that he is the best person to be the nominee for their party moving forward. He took questions from 10 reporters there, about 55 minutes or so, also gave comments right at the top. This was wide-ranging. He talked about the success of the NATO summit this week, inflation numbers coming down just today, the economy, how many jobs he's created, manufacturing jobs, microchips. He talked about China. He talked about Russia, Israel, the Gaza war, of course, the war in Ukraine, the situation with Vladimir Putin. Took a number of questions. He was asked about himself, and he did acknowledge the debate performance, calling it a mistake. I don't know whether he was talking about the debate as a whole or one particular moment or a couple, but he did use that word in describing the highly critiqued debate, that first debate that the White House, President Biden had asked for earlier in the cycle than ever before in modern politics. He talked about the debate. He talked about the debate that's coming up in September, the next debate scheduled to be here on ABC. He gave an indication he has every plan to be there and to debate former President Donald Trump again. He was also asked about Vice President Kamala Harris a number of times. He was asked if the situation changes, is she ready to be president on day one? He was unequivocal on that every time he was asked, at one point saying, look at her, what she has said about freedom of women's bodies, the message she has been delivering across this country, this election cycle. He said any issue to come across the table for her, that she was a first-rate prosecutor or senator, and that she is ready to be president. He said otherwise he would not have selected her 4 years ago in the first place. Let's get right to Mary Bruce, our chief White House correspondent. Mary, what's first reaction from your sources inside the White House, inside this campaign?
Oh, well, David, the White House, a source telling me they feel he knocked it out of the park, that he showed certainly his sophistication on a broad range of issues, including fielding all of those foreign policy questions. They feel that he had a good night here. The question is whether any of that is going to be enough, because the president certainly here is digging in. He doesn't seem to want to face that growing chorus of dissenters that we are hearing on Capitol Hill that continues to grow, insisting that, yes, he just needs to continue to show them that he can do this in these unscripted moments. But, David, the president dismissing still much of their concern, and those answers have not yet been given to many Democrats.
Rachel Scott, live in Washington. You've been chasing down lawmakers. Any of them convinced tonight with this performance?
One Democrat put it to me this way, David, that this is a complicated scenario, that this eases concerns, that it does not erase them. Yet another Democrat, Congressman Jim Himes, has come out calling for the president to step aside tonight. Democrats telling me that they groaned and cringed when the president said Vice President Trump instead of Vice President Harris. But every Democrat that I talked to tonight said they cannot believe they're in this scenario where the president's defending his age with 4 months to go.
John Carl, I have just 20 seconds here. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying he needs to make this decision. Time is running short. He seemed to indicate again tonight that the decision's made.
He sure did, David. And look, he took a wide range of questions, complicated issues, did fairly well on all of that. But I think nothing changes the bottom line, and that is that many Democrats think he just can't win in November, and there needs to be a change.
John Carl in Washington. John, our thanks to you, Rachel, and to Mary. That is our coverage of President Biden for now. For many of you, World News Tonight is next, and the ESPYs in their entirety right here on ABC. Good night.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. We are coming to you.
Speak Your Mind Radio is an internet radio community on D-Live, broadcasting abducted child alerts, missing person cases, and bringing breaking and top news to you affecting our world, along with music and talk radio.
Thanks for listening.